You're about to learn 3 quick tips to build massive muscular arms. And hey, that's the name of my new book, published by Human Kinetics. So let's check out the tips and just a few of the influencers that helped along the way. Tip number 1, make sure you have both hypertrophy, muscle gain phases, and you cycle that with strength training phases where you're focused on lower reps, heavier loads. Really helps you psychologically and physically, helps you prep for heavier loads during your hypertrophy training so you can get bigger, faster, stronger. Now, way too many meatheads are focused just on hypertrophy training, but they don't realize that yes, your strength training phases are actually going to boost your hypertrophy. They're going to facilitate your growth, your muscle gain, because that's going to help you break through those plateaus, whatever it is, help the stagnation, even if it's just psychological. The strength training phase is going to help you. I do 5-3-1 occasionally. It's a month long. It's 4 weeks. It feels very different. Helps you get used to the heavier loads and break through those mental plateaus. Tip number 2, make sure you're focusing on contracting the muscle to move the load during your hypertrophy phases. This is going to really increase that mind-muscle connection, teach you how to really connect with the muscle and focus on contracting. You want to be as inefficient as possible so you're getting that metabolic stress for the growth hypertrophy that you're after. Way too many of us are focused on just moving the bar, just moving the dumbbell, whatever it is. That is reserved for strength training phases, okay? For hypertrophy phases, we want to focus on squeezing the muscle as hard as possible. I know it's not always easy. It kind of sucks at times because it makes it a lot harder. But even if you can't really get inside the muscle and squeeze it, pretending like you're on stage, trying to contract as hard as possible, what you can do is wait till you're at the peak contraction phase and then squeeze the muscle. It's really going to help you get that mind-muscle connection, increase the metabolic waste, get that metabolic stress that's going to facilitate your hypertrophy. And keep in mind, this is for your hypertrophy phases. When we go into the strength training phases, like we talked about, there are times when you're going to want to focus on moving the bar. That is going to help you get that strength, but more for hypertrophy, focus on the internal loci of focus or focus on squeezing that muscle. Real quick, I want to hear from you. What kind of hypertrophy tips are you using? What's going to help you get that maximum muscle gain? Let us know in the comments below. Tip number 3, and this is what it's all about, using the forced eccentric training method. This is going to be where you take advantage of your strength prep that we talked about in tip number 1, and tip number 2, the internal and external loci of focus. For forced eccentric training, you cannot focus on squeezing the muscle. Like, it's just not going to happen. You need to focus on moving the bar as fast as possible. Oh, by the way, you can't move the bar. The bar is crushing you, okay? So the key is you need to focus on moving the bar. The bar can actually be moved by you, so it's a very, very different feeling, and that is why you're going to have the prep phases. You're going to be used to the heavier loads through the strength prep phase, and you're going to know what it feels like to focus inside the muscle and on the bar. You're going to have that internal and external loci of focus, respectively. But the key is you're going to need the preceding tips to facilitate the maximum eccentric overload training. And this is where the sex happens. This is where it gets really, really powerful because you're going to be using forced eccentric training, not the regular eccentric training that we typically do. I mean, how we typically train concentric only. So to really tap into that forced eccentric overload, you're going to need your strength prep and you're going to need to understand where you're putting your intention, where to contract the muscle, how to move the bar, all of that. That's going to be prepped for forced eccentric training, and that is going to result in the biggest gains yet. For more expert tips that you can use to build massive muscular arms, check out Human Kinetics and armbar.com. Thanks for watching. I'm David Armbar, and until next time, raise the bar.